I love it when I walk through my centres, when I walk around looking at children and what they're doing, and I love it when they yell out to me, look at me, and they're climbing or they're swinging, and they feel that huge sense of achievement because they've mastered a new locomotor or manipulative or just any gross motor skill. Hi, I'm Linda Ward, and today I'd like to talk to you about movement in young children and the need for movement within young children because it's very hard for them to keep still. I just got a little story I remember way back in my childhood, a million years ago, that my mum one time at Christmas time, she wanted us all to sit down on the settee or on the sofa, and she wanted to read a special Christmas story to us. So she gathered the children together and we sat down, and I obviously was wriggling and fiddling and she's reading the story, and that was obviously very annoying to her, and she went really cross at me and I couldn't work out why she was so cross at me, and I tried really hard and I sat there and I was trying and I was listening and I was trying to be still, and then at the end of the story she said, okay, off you go and play. And the sense of relief that I felt that I could actually move again was phenomenal. And that sort of is obviously logged in my memory somehow because it was a significant time around Christmas. I longed to please my mother. I wanted to do what she was asking me to do, but I remember the struggle within me of trying so hard not to move and to be still. So I can really understand and I really appreciate how hard it is for very young children to stay still. It's really within them, that need, that drive, that urge to move. As teachers, we need to celebrate that desire to move, for young children to move. We also need to understand the movement types and to encourage those movement types with children. Fundamental motor skills or movement skills are classified or grouped into 4 main categories. The first category is the locomotor category, the locomotor skills. And this is the moving from one location to another. That's running, hopping, walking, jumping, crawling, dodging, sort of dipping, skipping. Locomotive, moving from one place to another. The second category is called manipulative movement skills. And these are like catching, throwing, kicking, hitting. It's to do with an object and manipulating that object. And we need these skills for moving objects around. The third category is stability skills, movement stability skills. These include balance whilst moving and even balance while standing still. They include landing, rolling, rotating and spinning. And the last sort of movement category is just the basic body awareness. It's having knowledge of one's own body parts and how they move and the movement capabilities that we have with those body parts. This awareness is the ability to respond effectively with new information coming in, so you know what to do with those body parts. Active movement enhances a child's brain development because it's all to do with myelination. Now, myelin in the brain is a covering or a coating, a protective layer that wraps around axons or nerve endings within the brain. Now, that protective layer of myelin makes sure that the nerve endings are relaying messages accurately and they're not being lost en route. So that myelin is very, very important, and it develops well within a young child when they have a lot of active movement. And you can see how important active movement is, especially around the age of 2 and 3, because it's creating those strong pathways, that strong protective layer, and that strong ability to learn in the future. I remember many years ago teaching a young Romanian orphan, and he had come to be in my classroom when he was about 5 or 6, but he had been adopted about at the age of 2. And for the first 2 years of his life, he only stayed within a cot. And so he had no ability to move, to have sensory manipulation, to understand the world through experiences. So that all those things combined obviously meant developmental delay. But one of the things that was most important for him as a 5 and 6-year-old was to be as active as possible, to try and get those networks within his brain and that myelin wrapped around to protect those nerves endings and make those constructions a little bit stronger. So going back to what he could have learnt at 2 and 3 was very, very important. And so when I see a 2 and 3-year-old being very, very active, it is something to celebrate, because they are creating very, very strong networks within their brain, and it's almost impossible for them to not be active. Days filled with moving, jumping, running, swinging, clapping are amazing, wonderful days for our young children. This can also be quite difficult, because this movement, this drive and this urge to move all the time, you take a young child to a restaurant and it's almost impossible for them to sit still on their seat, and they end up under the table and crawling around and thinking it's a cave for a beer or whatever. But obviously we need to teach our children appropriate behaviour and maybe some boundaries, and being under your own table might be okay, but being under the next door neighbour's table might not be. So we just need to work that out, and also know that maybe taking them to a restaurant when they're 3, 4 or 5 might be a little bit more achievable. But yes, just celebrate that movement that we have within the children. I love it when I walk through my centres, when I walk around looking at children and what they're doing, and I love it when they yell out to me, look at me, and they're climbing or they're swinging, and they feel that huge sense of achievement because they've mastered a new locomotor or manipulative or just any gross motor skill. Active movement should also be celebrated for the amount of social skills that it is actually teaching and training within our children. It builds confidence as they experience new things, as they take risks, as they try out, as they push themselves a little bit further to see if something will work or something won't work. That confidence is being built. It's honestly, the confidence in movement and the celebration of movement is going to do them such good as they grow and learn even towards primary school. So that's basically all what I've got to say about movement. I just want to encourage you to not become frustrated with your young child, but to celebrate that they are growing strong, learning lots, and it's going to be great in the future. Thank you.